Off the ball.
With Paddy Power. Minimal contact in stadiums shouldn't stop the usual suspects from going down. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
You're very welcome back to Off the Ball. Will O'Callaghan sitting in for Nathan on this Thursday evening. Latest from the Europa League. Arsenal have just scored a second goal against Molde, so the Gunners are on course to qualify for the knockout stages of the Europa League. That is in Dundalk's group. Dundalk play against Rapid Vienna at 8 p.m. at the Aviva Stadium. Leicester continue to trail Braga by 2-1, and Celtic are also 2-1 down away to Sparta Prague. All three of those games have got about 12 minutes left. They were the 5 to 6 kickoffs this evening. But delighted to say we're now joined by Republic of Ireland football legend Johnny Giles. John, how are you getting on?
I'm good, Will, thank you.
Maradona passed away yesterday morning, John. We were chatting a bit earlier on. You played a couple of times against him with a League of Ireland selection, and also when he came to Dublin in 1979. So Maradona would have been 18 and 19 years of age respectively in those games. You were at kind of a crossroads. You were coming towards the end of his career. His was only starting out. Yeah. Was it obvious at the start, John, when you saw him, when he came on in those games, that he was going to be a really good player? Or what did you make of the teenage Maradona?
Well, the first time I played against him was we had a League of Ireland team going over to play the Argentinian full team before the World Cup in preparation for them in 1978. And he came on in the second half, Will. But actually, I don't remember him on the night. I was too worried, actually, about the result at that time. When we went to Argentina at that time, I didn't know we were playing the Argentinian full team with the League of Ireland team, to be quite honest. So we were beaten 3-1, which was a miracle result for us. He came on in the second half, but I don't remember him making any impression on it. I remember him in Dublin the following year. Actually, it was my last match for Ireland at the time, and he came on in the second half. And I remember coming in the edge of the box with on his left foot, pushed it inside, and he hit one about 20 yards out and nearly broke the crossbar. So you could tell that this fella could really play, but he wasn't well known at that time, Will, you know? Yeah, he was just coming on.
And I suppose he was unlucky in a way, John, that he was coming through in 1978, obviously in a squad for a friendly game in the preparation, but wasn't quite kind of at that first team level. He probably just about missed out on what could have been his first World Cup medal if he'd maybe been a few months older.
Well, I believe he was very, very narked about it, Will. He thought he should have been in the team in 78, for the World Cup in 78. And maybe he should. He wasn't. I don't think he was even in the squad. So I think I remember reading about it afterwards. He was really, really narked about that at that particular time. I'd say he probably was good enough. I mean, they had a new manager coming in and probably felt, well, he's a little bit too young yet. I don't know. I only saw him against us, and he was a very, very young lad. But I read afterwards that he was very, very annoyed about not being in the squad for the World Cup in 78.
Yeah, 3 years later he'd go on to be the world record signing when he eventually left Argentina to go to Barcelona. It was maybe Napoli before we saw the best of his club football in Europe. But when you think about it, John, you're going through 1986. I watched the documentary again, which came out about a year ago. It was on last night on More 4. And just one thing that really stands out is you look at that 1986 World Cup, you know, at a time when, you know, not a huge amount of football was on TV outside of, say, the World Cup where you got blanket TV coverage. I've never known a player to ever light up a tournament in the same way that Maradona lit up that tournament in Mexico, where he was the standout player by a million miles.
A million miles. And, you know, playing in an Argentinian side, which wasn't the best, but obviously he had the ability to raise the level and do it on his own. Well, that's what I think. I mean, I've written down a few names here of the players that were great. You know, Messi, Ronaldo, Di Stefano, Puskas, Cruyff, Jimmy Greaves, Dennis Law, Georgie Best, and Pele. And I would say, looking at them all and having seen them all and played against most of them all, I'd say he was probably the best of them, Will. And the reason I'm saying that is that, you know, there's a thing in football I've always said on your program, you know, you're only as good as the players around you. But he actually played in a team in Naples and in Argentina that weren't that good. But he was like, Pele was great at what he did. So was Messi, Ronaldo. But this fella could actually dribble the ball from a distance from goal better than any. In other words, he could do it on his own. Like Pele, for example, needed people. He was a great finisher. So was Ronaldo. and they've had people to make the goals for them. This guy actually could do it on his own. And what epitomises him is the goal he scored. A lot of people, the football people, will remember him scoring the goal against England, where he got on the ball in his own half and ran through the whole defence. Now, I don't think any of the players that I mentioned, those great players, were capable of doing that on their own, you know. And this guy could make it on his own. His balance, his dribbling, his speed, he's great. Obviously, put his colleagues through. Wasn't selfish, so that's why I would probably put him at the top of that list.
Well, especially as well when it comes to that goal against England, John, you know, special as it is, and everyone's been, you're re-listening to the multiple brilliant commentaries of that goal in the quarter-final against England in '86. The magnificent thing is that he goes on in the next round in a semi-final against Belgium and scores a goal that probably would be far better remembered if it hadn't been for the England goal. But again, you know, a weaving run and a fantastic finish at the end of it as well. It wasn't just a one-off goal. This was Maradona in '86 at the absolute peak of his powers.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I mean, he could score that goal, which would look easier, you know, and maybe Messi and Ronaldo at their best could do that, and Pelé at their best could do that. But I've never seen any of them do what he did against England and dribble from his own half into the penalty area, in past people and score. You know, and he was capable of doing that. That's why I say, like, and I'm not being disrespectful, don't be disrespectful to Ronaldo and Di Stefano and even Pelé. They needed people. They were strikers that needed people to lay it on for them. It might be a difficult one to get headers and all like that. But Maradona didn't need anybody. He could actually do it on his own. And I know I'm labouring the point a little bit, but I haven't seen anybody else do it. Messi is a great dribbler, and he can beat players. But I've never seen anybody do it from the distance out that Maradona could do it, either to score a goal on his own or to make a goal. And as you say, the two goals in those particular matches in the World Cup in '86 were exceptional. You know, particularly everybody remembers the goal against England. From his own half, dribbling in, going past the keeper, everything. I've never seen Messi do that. I've never seen Pelé do that, or any of the great players that I've spoken about before do what he was capable of doing. And I think that's how he raised the Napoli team the way he did. There weren't great players around him. You know what I mean, Will?
Yeah. No,
but he made them better because he could do it on an individual basis. He wasn't dependent on them in any way. Like Pelé had to depend on people getting up the ball up to him, and Ronaldo the same. And these were great players, obviously. But Maradona didn't need that. He could do it on his own.
And what I think makes the move to Napoli in the mid-1980s all the more impressive as well, John, is that he goes to a very unfancy team. He's become a legend. They're probably going to rename his stadium, as Richie was mentioned in the newsround, after him now at this point. But could you ever imagine somebody who is considered to be the best in the world right now? Like Cristiano Ronaldo wasn't leaving Manchester United to join an unfancy team in a different league. He was going to Real Madrid. When Leo Messi leaves Barcelona next summer, he's going to be joining a big club. When Neymar left Barcelona, he went to Paris Saint-Germain. There's something quite unique about the idea of Maradona. You know, this wonderful player who's a World Cup winner in 1986, going to a small team in Italy where Juventus are dominating things and then turning them into double winners of Serie A and winners of the old UEFA Cup, as it was called at the time.
Yeah.
There's something kind of special about the fact that he did that. He went to a team and transformed them.
Oh, totally. That's what I say. I mean, I have great respect for Pelé and the great players that I mentioned, Ronaldo. I don't think that the players I mentioned could have done what he did, right, at Naples, because Ronaldo, obviously, and Pelé were great finishers particularly, but they depended on people getting the ball to them. Whereas when he went to Naples, he wasn't dependent on his teammates who were average. He did it on his own and was capable of doing it on, dribbling from his own half, making goals, scoring goals. I don't think any of the players that I mentioned there, who were great players, could do what he do. That's what he did. That's why I would separate him from the best. And again, don't mean to be disrespectful anyway to the players that I mentioned, because they were all great players. But I don't think any of them could do individually what he could do.
Yeah, and I think as well, John, there's two reasons people seem to love Maradona. Kind of those who grew up at a time when maybe 1986 was the time they started watching football. Understandably, he was the big star of that World Cup. and everyone was interested in him as a result. But I think there's kind of two other sides to it. The fact he's such a flawed character, you know, given the issues that he had with cocaine and the ban that he copped afterwards, and the fact that he wasn't the kind of good boy, clean image footballer makes him more interesting maybe than some other footballers. And the other reason I think people love him, John, is that he plays the game in such a beautiful way that it's hard not to like a player who has that kind of natural skill. Yeah,
well, I think what he's been honoured for, I mean, I think it's a 3-day break in Argentina, was for what he did as a footballer, Will. There's no doubt about that, because other aspects of his life off the pitch wouldn't have been as attractive to a lot of people as his attractiveness as a player. There's no doubt he had a lot of flaws. I think he admitted that himself. You know, he had a drugs problem. I think he had a drinks problem. You know, so he didn't have, after he finished playing football, a very attractive life. But luckily enough, people do remember him in Argentina and around the world for what he did as a footballer. And no matter what he did or had his faults off the pitch, the beauty that he brought to the game and to people watching him will never be forgotten.
John, I'm sorry again for us to be talking about another of your former teammates that's passed away this week, but Maurice Setters, who, you know, has a great place in Irish football fans' hearts because of his time as number 2 to Jack Charlton during the fantastic adventures we had in the late 80s and early 90s. Maurice would have played alongside you, John, with Manchester United, you know, after the Busby Babes and everything that happened there. He would have been on your team in 1963 that won the FA Cup. Yes, he was. Yeah, I played with Maurice. I think Maurice came to Old Trafford around about 59-60, and I left in 63. So I played with Maurice for 3 years, including the FA Cup in 1963. Actually, that was my last competitive match for Manchester United at that particular time. But I played with Maurice. Maurice came from West Brom, and he was a tough player, Maurice. And he was extremely good in the air. Actually, in the cup final, he dropped into the back four alongside Bill Foulkes, and he wasn't particularly big fella, but he was very good in the air, good tackler, and he could get stuck in, Maurice. What do you think it was about Maurice's character that attracted Jack Charlton to bringing him in as an assistant then? I think Jack knew him from playing management in Sheffield Wednesday and that. I think that's where they got together. And obviously Jack saw something in Maurice that would be good for the camp, and obviously shared with Jack a very successful time. So I think his judgment was right there. Unfortunately, Maurice has had, I think he had Alzheimer's for the last few years. I haven't seen him for a long time, but I know he wasn't well at all. Well, may he rest in peace. Sad to lose both him and Jack in such quick succession over the last few months. John's going to stay with us. When we come back after the break, we'll look forward to this weekend's football, including our live game on Off the Ball. That is a London derby between Chelsea and Spurs. Spurs sitting high at the top of the Premier League. And we'll have a look back at this week's Champions League as well after this break.
Before England can recompose, still reeling from the disputed first goal, Maradona strikes again.
Inside the road half, Maradona turns like a little eel and comes away from trouble. Little squat man comes inside Butcher, leaves him for dead. Outside Fenwick leaves him for dead and puts the ball away. And that is why Maradona's the greatest player in the world. He buried the English defence. He picked up that ball 40 yards out. First he left one man for dead, first he went past Sansom. It's a goal of great quality by a player of the greatest quality. It's England 0, Argentina 2. The first goal should never have been allowed. But Maradona has put the seal on his greatness. He's left it thumbprint on this World Cup. He scored a goal that England just couldn't cope with. They couldn't face up to. It was beyond their ability. It's England 0, Diego Maradona 2.
Football on Off the Ball
with Paddy Power. New normal, same old football. Paddy Power. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
This weekend, News Talk and Champion Green have come together to support local businesses right across the country by turning Black Friday green.
This is Rob Price, Chief Revenue Officer with Extreme Push. A serious challenge is that 70% of online sales made in Ireland is being spent abroad. How we all shop, online or in person, has the power to rebuild Irish communities. Add your support to Champion Green this Green Friday and be part of Ireland's recovery.
Shop local, click local and give local this Christmas. Take the pledge to Champion Green now at championgreen.ie. Proudly supported by Newstalk. Because it's up to us.
Do you get bags and stickers coming through your letterbox asking for donations of clothing or other items? Do you know that many of these collectors are not registered charities? It is against the law to falsely claim to be a charity. Only registered charities are regulated. Give with your head as well as your heart. Make sure your donation is going to a registered charity by checking the Register of Charities at www.charitiesregulator.ie. A message from the Charities Regulator and An Garda Síochána.
For the year that's in it, the I Knew It collection are gifting you with an extended Black Friday sale. From now until November 30th, enjoy 10% off our gift vouchers at iknewit.ie. The I Knew It collection gift card is the perfect Christmas gift to enjoy in any of our 9 hotels across Ireland, from our 5-star Muckross Park Hotel and Spa to the Radisson Blu in Cork, Athlone, Limerick and Sligo. Get 10% off your gift vouchers now at iknewit.ie.
Whether those closest to you are living just around the corner or halfway around the world, this time of year is all about connecting. Feel the joy of unlimited connection this Black Friday with Vodafone Bill Pay. Treat yourself to unlimited data with a Red Unlimited plan and get €200 off a smartphone of your choice, all on Ireland's fastest 5G network. Get your phone well before the Christmas rush with 5-day delivery. Switch to Red Unlimited today at Vodafone.ie. Terms apply, see Vodafone.ie. Available to new customers signing up to a 24-month unlimited bill pay contract. Offer ends November 30th, 2020.
Hey mate, it's me, your hunch. I gotta say, nothing feels as good as taking a punt on Betway's for to score. 1 or 2 goals feel like this. 3 like this. But picking the first goal scorer in 4 selected matches sounds great.
Heed your hunch with Betway's 4 to score for the jackpot. UK and Ireland customers only. Selections must be submitted before kick-off in the first eligible match. Where there is more than one winner, jackpot will be divided. 1 entry per registered account holder per round. Full terms apply. Bet the responsible way. 18+ at Louis.net.
Our Skoda certified technicians eat nuts and bolts for breakfast. Young man, it's merely a metaphor. You don't literally have to eat the nuts and the bolts. If you're looking for a service that goes above and beyond, within reason, book your major service today, now with a set of complimentary windscreen wipers. To book, visit skodaservice.ie. No technicians were harmed in the making of this commercial.
This Christmas on Disney Plus, stream the biggest new releases plus all your festive favorites.
Wow!
With Pixar's exclusive new critically acclaimed movie, Soul.
Today started out as the best day of my life.
The hilarious new comedy Noelle starring Anna Kendrick.
We gotta find Santa.
And the unmissable Christmas mischief of Home Alone. Make this Christmas wonderful with Disney Plus. All these and more streaming this Christmas. 18+ subscription required. T's and C's apply.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Paddy Power. Minimal contact in stadiums shouldn't stop the usual suspects from going down. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
Welcome back to Off the Ball on this Thursday evening. It is 4 wins, some 4 for Arsenal in the Europa League. They've won 3-0 away from home against Molde. Celtic have been hit for 4 in their game against Sparta Prague. The Czech side have won 4-1 against Neil Lennon's side. And Leicester, deep in injury time, are 3-2 down against Braga. Dundalk, Rangers and Tottenham are in action in the next hour. John Giles is still here with us as well. And John, our live game and Off the Ball this coming Sunday, we've got first against third in the Premier League. It is Spurs against Chelsea. Jose Mourinho going back to his old stomping ground in Stamford Bridge. Spurs have been pretty impressive in the last few weeks. That fantastic 2-0 win against Man City last weekend. Do we start to see Spurs as realistic title contenders, John?
Well, I think they'll be there or thereabouts. Will, I don't fancy them. Actually, I looked at Chelsea the other night. I think Chelsea are more impressive, actually, than Spurs. I think they've come on. They're not giving goals away. They're scoring goals. They look very, very good the other night in the Champions League match. And is it at home or away? Where are they?
Chelsea would be at home, John. So it's Mourinho going back to Stamford Bridge.
Yeah, well, I fancy Chelsea. I think Spurs have come on, but I think Chelsea have better players than, and I think he's tightened up the defence. Frank Lampard much better than they have been in the early part of the season.
Yeah, pretty crucial. I think Thiago Silva's probably
be a good game, definitely.
I was just thinking in terms of Mourinho as well, John. It's not that long ago, when restart was coming around, and I appreciate that Son Heung-min was injured at the time and Harry Kane was injured, but as they were getting ready to go into that kind of lockdown period, Spurs were looking very shaky. Even getting into the Europa League looked like an achievement at the end of the season. But this year, since they've come back into the new season, Jose Mourinho's looked a bit more like the Jose Mourinho of old. Even kind of dispatching Pep Guardiola last weekend felt like Mourinho of a few years ago, when there was that feeling out there that maybe he was a busted flush and was finished as a top manager.
Well, that happens in football, A few months ago, he was a bum. He was old-fashioned, and he's gone past it, and all the various things that you hear. But he's only there a year, Will. And it takes time. Like, if you look at Klopp, I think Klopp was there 4 years before he really got it right. So it takes a bit of time. I think he has improved them. I think there's room for improvement from where he is, and I don't think any manager loses their magic. Will they go to different clubs, or they have few injuries? I mean, look at Guardiola now. I think Manchester City are way back from some of the other clubs this year. Now, only 2 or 3 years ago, he was top of the pile. But since then, Kompany's gone, David Silva's gone, Fernandinho's not playing like he did, Aguero's gone. So you have to replace those players, and it's very, very difficult to do so. So I don't think Pep Guardiola is any worse manager than he was 3 or 4 years ago. These are circumstances that come about. And I think Mourinho's like that. I don't think Mourinho has changed. He's gone to different clubs. There's different situations everywhere you go. He had a bad time at Manchester United. Now he's gone to Spurs, and he seems to be doing a good job there. But I don't think he loses the class and drive that he had when he was at Chelsea. These things happen in football, and I think he's the same Mourinho. He's had a bit of time now at Spurs, 12 months, to get it going his way, and I think he has gone it his way. But are they good enough to win the league? I don't think so.
Yeah, time will tell, particularly when Liverpool get their defence back from injury.
Yes.
You mentioned Guardiola there, John. He signed that 2-year contract on Friday afternoon. Is the first time ever he's going to go beyond 5 seasons at a club. He left Barcelona after 5, didn't get past 5 with Bayern Munich when he decided to move to Man City. So it's a new departure, and he has a rebuild job on. When you think about it this year, when Sergio Aguero's not been available while he was injured, they've struggled for goals. They've never really kind of fixed the defence over the last couple of seasons. David Silva is a massive miss for them now in midfield too. I'm sure they're going to back him with money when it comes to the January window and maybe into next summer. But Guardiola's probably got the most difficult time of all of his period in England coming up now as he tries to rebuild this team, John, and we've seen their poor form this season.
Yeah, well, it happens. Well, it doesn't last forever when you have this successful team. And I mentioned the players. I mean, he's lost at least 4 of those players who were vital players to him, and it's hard to replace them. It doesn't last forever. It's success, and when you lose the players that he lost, then he's got to replace them, and it's very, very difficult to do so. But what you find with him as you say, he only stayed at clubs for a certain period of time. And like a lot of managers and a lot of people in football would believe that's the way to do it, Will. Stay at a club 4 years, 5 years, because the next club you go to, in particular in his situation, he was successful at Barcelona, he was okay at Germany, but when he was going to Manchester City, he was able to lay down conditions that he wanted and could get. Because a lot of managers in clubs now, they're like head coaches. They're not in charge of the buying and selling of players. And I think if you make the reputation that he made for himself at Barcelona, then the next job he went to be down to have him, and Manchester City were down to have him, and he could make his own situation there, and demands, if you call it demands, to be in charge of the situation. So a lot of managers would say in football, a lot of people I know in football that I would respect, like Big Jack, for example, when he was going into Middlesbrough or going into management, I remember him telling me, he said, never stay any longer than 3 years at a club. And he didn't. At Middlesbrough, he was in the second division. They got promotion. I think they finished 7th in the first division in his first year and 8th the next year. And the supporters were getting a bit impatient. You know, that happens. You know, eating bread is soon forgotten. You know, when you do a job at a club and then you don't do it as well, like in Guardiola's case now, not doing so well, then you're going to be treated by the various highest of standards. So if you look at Guardiola's place, if he'd left last year, say or the year before, after 3 or 4 years, he'd have got a top job somewhere else in the world.
Yeah.
Now this is a different subject, I know it will, but that's football. If you stay at a club too long, you look at the lad at Eddie Howe at Bournemouth, for example. Right? He did perform miracles for at least 5 seasons, and then he has one bad season and he's gone. Whereas if he'd have left after 3 years of doing a good job for Bournemouth, then he'd get a better job somewhere with a better chance of success. That's the way it works. Now, I know I'm going on to a different subject, so I'm surprised in certain ways, to go back to Guardiola, that he has extended his contract by 2 years.
It just goes to show, though, as well, John, I'm thinking like how impressive it is what Alex Ferguson achieved, you know, to be able to have the longevity of 20-plus seasons, to rebuild his team 3 or 4 times. You played under Matt Busby, who had to have 2 or 3 great teams. Don Revie, you know, who had to recycle teams as well. It just goes to show how impressive their runs were, to be able to, you know, continue to squeeze ability out of the players that they have and to be able to rebuild over such a long course of time.
Definitely. These are the great managers who did what they did. You know, Shankly started at Liverpool, and then it was carried on by the new manager. Can't think of his name at the moment. Anyway, they built a dynasty for the next 20 years. Now, Shankly started that. Building the foundations is sometimes the hardest part. Like when Shankly went to Liverpool, they were in the second division, and he built them to where he was. That when he left, he'd won 6 major trophies, 5 or 6 major trophies. For Bob Paisley to take over, and you know, and of course he did a great job from there. But the foundations had been made. In Alex Ferguson's case, if you go back, it took him 3 years, and almost got the sack before he was able to start winning matches. And then he went on from there, which was remarkable to do what he did for about 20 years or 20 odd years. That's remarkable in management. But he changed the side quite a bit, as we know, which you have to do as you go along. Like in Guardiola's case, you know, he got to the stage where he had to change the side, and so far he hasn't successfully replaced the people that won the trophies for him.
Yeah, it's a big rebuild job that's on.
It's a big rebuild job, definitely.
John,
definitely.
Thanks a million for joining us on this Thursday for remembering Maradona and Morris particularly. We'll speak to you again next week.
Yeah, thanks, Will. Thank you.
All right, we're heading towards the news at 8 o'clock. Just before we go, a reminder of those results from the Europa League. Sparta Prague beating Celtic by 4-1. Leicester got a very late equaliser to draw 3-3, and a win for Arsenal away from home against Molde by 3-0. We'll be back just the far side of 8.
Breathe in, breathe out.